The town of Hollow Creek was the kind of place that didn't appear on maps anymore. Once thriving, now abandoned, it was surrounded by endless woods that seemed to breathe in silence. Legends whispered that people who entered Hollow Creek at night never returned. Nobody dared to find out, until one restless traveler decided otherwise. Ethan, a documentary filmmaker obsessed with mysteries, drove into Hollow Creek to capture footage for his next project. He carried a camera, a flashlight, and a notebook. The streets were silent, lined with old rusting cars and houses frozen in time. It felt as though everyone had vanished overnight. Before entering the town, Ethan walked through the woods. The deeper he went, the more he heard faint whispers, like voices calling his name. At first, he dismissed it as the wind, but when a child's laughter echoed behind him, he froze. No children lived there. In the center of Hollow Creek stood an old wooden church. Its door creaked open as if inviting him inside. Dust floated in the air, broken pews lined the room, and at the altar lay a diary with brittle pages. Ethan began to read. "We prayed, but the shadows would not leave us. The bells rang on their own. We are not safe." As Ethan filmed the church, his flashlight flickered. Dark silhouettes began moving along the walls, though no one else was there. They twisted unnaturally, stretching toward him. His camera captured them, but when he turned, nothing stood behind him, only the cold silence of the empty church. Drawn by the sound of a bell tolling, Ethan climbed the narrow staircase of the church tower. At the top, he found the bell swinging on its own. Looking out, he saw figures gathering in the town square, pale, faceless people staring directly at the church. Ethan ran into the town's abandoned hotel to hide. The lobby was frozen in time. Tables set, glasses half filled, luggage left behind. On the wall hung dozens of photographs, each showing smiling families who once lived in Hollow Creek. But as Ethan looked closer, he saw something terrifying. In every photo, the background was filled with shadowy figures watching the families. In one of the rooms, Ethan found an old tape recorder still working. He pressed play, and the static cleared into a voice. "If you hear this, you are already theirs. Do not look at the shadows. Do not stay after midnight. They will take you like they took us." At that moment, his camera battery drained instantly to 0. The clock struck midnight. A chilling wind swept through the town as Ethan tried to escape. From every alley and doorway, the faceless figures emerged, surrounding him. Their movements were slow but unstoppable, dragging shadows that twisted unnaturally along the ground. Ethan reached an old wooden bridge at the edge of town. Below, the creek reflected a strange light, glowing as if alive. He looked back. Hundreds of faceless figures were advancing. With no choice, Ethan crossed. Halfway across, the wood cracked. He fell into the water, and everything went dark. Weeks later, hikers found Ethan's abandoned camera on the creek's edge. The last footage showed his terrified face, then shadows closing in. The video ended abruptly. No body was ever recovered, and Hollow Creek remained abandoned, waiting for the next soul curious enough to enter. Ethan woke up coughing, drenched in creek water, but somehow alive. He staggered back toward town, disoriented. The hotel's lights flickered faintly, though there was no electricity. Drawn by a strange force, he entered again. This time, the photographs on the wall had changed. Now they showed him. In each frame, Ethan stood in the background, looking terrified, as if he had always been part of Hollow Creek. Behind the hotel, Ethan stumbled into a rusted playground. Swings creaked back and forth though no wind blew. Suddenly, ghostly children appeared, laughing, running, playing tag. But as they turned toward Ethan, their faces melted away into blank, hollow voids. Their laughter turned into shrieks that echoed through the night. Curious, Ethan found the old schoolhouse. Inside, desks were covered in dust, books open as if the students had vanished mid-lesson. On the blackboard was written in chalk, "Do not speak their names." As Ethan filmed, he heard footsteps above. Slowly, he climbed to the second floor, where he found dozens of child-sized handprints smeared across the walls in black ash. In one of the school's classrooms stood a large cracked mirror. When Ethan looked into it, he didn't see himself. Instead, he saw a man screaming silently, banging on the glass from the other side. Then, behind the figure, the faceless shadows appeared, pulling him away into darkness. Ethan stumbled back in terror, realizing the mirror was a window to their world. Ethan ran to the edge of town, where he discovered a graveyard. The tombstones were fresh, names carved sharply into the stone. When he wiped the dirt off one, he froze. It read Ethan Carter, his own name, with today's date as the death year. Suddenly, the ground shook, and hands began clawing out of the earth. Ethan fled toward the woods, desperate to escape. But the deeper he ran, the more the trees seemed to twist into faces, their branches stretching like arms to block his path. At the heart of the forest, he saw them, the faceless figures, hundreds of them, standing in a perfect circle. In the center was the same diary from the church, glowing faintly. As he reached for it, the circle closed. The figures leaned closer, whispering in unison, "Now you belong to Hollow Creek." Ethan screamed as the shadows wrapped around him, pulling him into darkness. The last thing he saw was his camera lying on the ground, recording everything. Weeks later, authorities never found Ethan's body, only his camera. But when investigators reviewed the footage, something strange happened. Each time they played it, the number of figures in the video increased, until one day, someone noticed a new figure among them. Ethan, now faceless, staring directly into the lens.